Welcome back to the Winning Hand podcast. My name is Boomguy, and I am here as always, but I am not here with the same people as always. Today I am joined by KennedyHawk, host of the MCM podcast and general all-around good dude. KennedyHawk, how are you?
Great. I am ecstatic that we're super close to con time. How are you?
Yeah, I'm so good. I'm super hyped for the con. As of recording today, we're like 3 weeks out.
Soon.
This should go up within a day or two, so this is pretty much real time. We had an episode go up today. I said we, Winning Hand, an episode go up. We had a panel discussion about the con from people who have been before. So if you're interested in the con or you're going to the con, check that out. I think there's a lot of stuff that you might find useful, what to pack, what decks to bring, how to plan for the big multiplayer get-togethers, not just the Con of Heroes, but also the Con of Heroes. And then check out KennedyHawk's channel, because tell us what you've had about the con recently, KennedyHawk.
Yeah, so every year we give away some like custom promo cards. Again, custom content, not official, nothing nearly as cool as what FFG does. But we have been spoiling some of the things that have come out. And this episode hopefully will help people prepare even more with what to bring to the con. So this is part 3 of like a 3-part series going through a couple channels. So MCM was able to spoil that the big multi-table event we're going to be doing this year is Carnage, and it's a full scenario. And we'll talk more about that later today. And the final video will be released next week on the Critical Encounters channel. So if you check out all 3, you'll have seen a ton of the spoilers, but even that isn't all of them. So there'll still be cards you haven't seen when you show up.
I love that. So everybody who's going to be there is going to still have something to look forward to. That's awesome. I will put links to Critical Encounters and MCM down below. If you know about this channel, you should certainly know about their channels. Pretty sure they're both bigger than me and been around longer than me, but they're awesome. Check them out. Let's jump into the content today. I am super excited for this. We're going to kind of share some of the stuff that's coming through. And KennedyHawk, you are the main designer of all of this content. So we are happy to have you here so you can help us kind of walk through what we're going to look at. So why don't you kind of, before I show it, I'll just show the first slide. Yeah. Why don't you kind of tell us generally what we're going to be looking at today?
Yeah, so I mean, every year we try to release a new custom content set, and it's grown year after year. So this is our 4th year, so it's getting pretty extensive. So this year, the pack of cards you're going to get is a full 72 cards, which is a lot of content. So I know you said that I am the lead designer on it, but this year I really, 50% of the credit goes to Hone doing a lot of the design work. He thinks he doesn't, but that's just him being modest. And he really likes Spider-Man. So this year's theme is all about the Sinister Motives campaign box and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. campaign box, because they both have a little bit of a S.H.I.E.L.D. flair to them, and we get to celebrate Web Warriors and things like that. So one thing we've tried to do every year, I really like the standard set that is in Marvel Champions. Well, I really hate the standard set because I hate Advanced because I lose games to it. But I really see that it's essential in nature, right? So we try to provide a new standard set every year that provides different options to con-goers than the regular standard. So what we're going to go over today is the standard set that will be released at Con of Heroes 2025.
I think the first Con of Heroes, it was literally just called a new standard, right?
It was. The intention wasn't to do one every year back then, but people liked it, so we decided to keep tweaking at it and seeing what would happen.
Yeah, it's awesome and thematic. And if you want to, like I said, see more of the content that it's going to be there, they've already shown off some of that on their channel, MCM, and they also had a packing list for what you should bring, and we might touch on some of those later today as well to get the most out of it. You said it's centered around the Sinister Motives box, so we definitely want to pack along the right mod sets and the right scenarios to get the most out of the whole weekend. But let's jump into the introduction here. So there we go. So what are we looking at, KennedyHawk?
Yeah, so the hook for this year, every year we have a different hook. Like the first year it was hand hates. That wasn't super fun. But the second year we had a different hook, and the third year the hook was like all about player choices. So the hook this 4th year is a lot of the LCGs have alternative ways to play. Like in Lord of the Rings, you could have a contract that changes your deck building restrictions but gives you some sort of bonus or penalty. And they had similar things in a Game of Thrones called agendas, and in Star Wars called alliances. So we wanted to do something similar in Marvel Champions, where you get provided with some sort of bonus, but attached to it comes an entire encounter set to sort of thwart that bonus. So the standard set is called the Symbiote Standard. So in this set, there's going to be 4 cards 1 through 4, that have 2 new keywords on them: Setup Asterisk and Bonded. So the new setup keyword is basically when you set the game up, you're going to search for those 4 setup cards, and every player is going to pick one and start with this Symbiote Suit ally in play. It doesn't have a uniqueness symbol, it's just sort of a bonus that you get as a player for playing with this set. And they all have the Bonded keyword, which is a new keyword that we've made up for the con. But basically, if a card with Bonded would be defeated or removed from the game, or removed from your play area in general, instead you're going to remove all tokens from it and flip it, and it'll reveal something else. So these are sort of 4 symbiote suits that as you're building your decks, you could think about, oh, I want to play this with the extra hand symbiote suit because I get an additional restricted, can carry an item with an additional restricted keyword. So they're deck building hooks for you to build around when you use this modular set.
I love that. So you mentioned the setup asterisk keyword is you choose one of these to start. Is it random, or do you get to choose the one that you want when you set up?
We tested a bunch of different variants, and I think the random one was fun, but we kind of had to make them all act pretty samey if they were random, because you might get one that just completely doesn't work with your deck. So what we have chosen since then is that you sort of pick one and build around it. So they're balanced, that you would end up with one of them in play. You shouldn't all run with the Symbiote Suit Extra Hand or Symbiote Suit Meat Shield. But when you get together as a team, maybe you say, oh, I built a deck counting on the Extra Hand. Can I use that one? And you decide amongst your team who's going to pick which one.
Well, you've touched on the Extra Hand and Meat Shield, so let's just talk through these real quick. So the first one is, well, they're all 0 cost. Obviously, they come in a setup. And this one is the subtitle, like where the name would go, is Super Stats, 2 thwart, 1 attack, 1 consequential each with 4 hit points, the symbiote keyword, set up and bonded, like you said. And this one has a hero response. After this ally activates, you choose a basic power, and your identity gets +1 to that basic power until the end of the round. That's tasty. I like that.
It's giving you some super stats, right? You can pick which stat you want to build it around.
Yeah.
We went through a ton of iterations with these. At one point in time, they were tied to the aspects, but that becomes kind of shoehorned. So we said, what if we just let them pick what stat they want to boost, and they get to boost that stat and use it for the round, at least until the ally is defeated.
I like this a lot. So you're going to get, essentially, barring healing or anything like that, you'll be able to use 4 activations, right, until they get flipped over, and we will see the other side in a minute.
Yep.
But you can have upgrades on these, right? You could Voltron them.
You can. If they get defeated, you might lose all those upgrades, just like a normal Voltron.
True.
Originally, we weren't allowing upgrades, we weren't allowing healing, but it just became so restrictive that it wasn't fun. So it is a set that's really going to make you more powerful. And the more you want to abuse that, the stronger you will become. But typically when we tested it, we weren't using first aid on them, but leadership decks were definitely throwing upgrades on them to make them stronger and stronger.
I mean, right away, I'm thinking you could put Honorary Guardian on one of these, put the Energy Spear out there. They're going to really hit for a lot. That's fun. Okay, the second one, why don't you read the second one for us? You already referenced it a few times.
This one is you control 1 additional upgrade with the restricted keyword, so you can have 3 guns. And the hero response is, after this ally activates, deal a damage to an enemy equal to the number of upgrades you control. So after you activate with the ally, you can ping something. He only has 1 thwart, 1 attack, and 4 hit points, though.
But that's not just restricted upgrades. So that's all upgrades you control, which could be quite a lot.
It is a max of 3, though. So
okay.
So if you play Black Widow and you get 12 upgrades out, you're still only hitting for 3. But
you're not one-shotting the villain.
It's a lot, right? It's a free haymaker. So
yeah. And the third one is Symbiote Suit Meat Shield, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 6 hit points. same keywords, and a hero interrupt. When your hero would take any amount of damage, reduce that damage by 1 and deal 1 damage to this ally. That's interesting. It's not just from an attack, so you can any instance of damage, you could put it on that symbiote suit.
And it's not forced, so you trigger it like when you need it, right?
Yeah. Kind of like the energy shield or the energy barrier. These do count against your allied limit, right?
They do. So you're restricted in how many allies you can bring out, and they do break up your like team building, right? If you're trying to build all Avengers or all Guardians, you're going to have to get an honorary onto them. So they can thwart you a little bit there.
Yeah, they can mess up some of those team trait decks, I guess. And then why don't you read the last one? Then I want to kind of talk about the art on some of these. It's awesome.
So the last one is called Symbiote Suit Good Boy. 1 thwart for 1 consequential, 2 attack for 1 consequential, and 3 health. Set up and bonded again. And then the hero response is, after this ally activates, return the top card of your discard pile to your hand. So there was an arc when Venom Suit spawned as like a dog that he would like go have fetch things for him. So it's like that.
That's pretty cool. Speaking of cool, this art is amazing. Where did we get the art from?
So we get all custom art from different people across the internet. So some of these are repeated artists. So both of the middle 2 suits shown here, Extra Hand and Meat Shield, are from a person that we used last year named Unknown Amnesiac. And the dog art is by a pair of artists, Dawn and Dan, who do a lot of the art. They do the token design or like the symbol design for the con every year. And then the Symbiote Suit Super Stats is a new artist named Luthfi from the internet who drew the Symbiote Suit for us.
These are really awesome. The Symbiote Suit art or the Super Stats one is very classic black suit Peter Parker. Nothing like super crazy there. The Extra Hand one, is that Venom with a white Venom suit, or is it just the way the light is and he has like a bow and arrow?
That is Hawkeye with a suit on, right? So this is we have to sneak Hawkeye into the art every year.
I love
this
that.
This is how he was snuck in this year. So there's like a really bright white light projecting on him. So it's just like a black symbiote suit.
Okay. But it's all white background, so that's what it makes it look like. And that's Hawkeye. That's pretty sweet.
I couldn't quite crop it perfectly, unfortunately.
Is the third one, is that Miss Marvel, it looks like, with a symbiote
That's
suit?
Captain Marvel.
Or
yeah,
Captain
or Miss
Marvel.
Busting out of like a symbiote suit, or it's like taking damage for her.
That is awesome. And then the one is like the last one, the good boy, is like a Venom dog?
Yep. Little pet symbiote suit.
That is
Real
awesome.
cute.
Is there a dog in there, or is the suit just making itself into a dog?
Well, player choice, you know.
Okay. You said there was an arc where Venom had that, so I didn't know if you.
There
if you had
is.
some
I
more.
haven't read it. This is a Hone thing, right? He's our theme guy this year, so
Okay.
I can blame him or thank
Okay.
him.
These are really fun. I like that there's 4 different ones. I like that they're not unique, so you can obviously have them all out. I think it's pretty cool that you can deck build with this in mind. Like if you're going to play this set, then you can kind of think ahead. Look, I can have an additional upgrade. So you could play Venom, for example, with the Extra Hand and have a 4th restricted card. Crazy.
Sweet.
Yeah, these are really cool. I like these a lot. And then there's something on the back, which we've kind of talked about. So let's skip ahead. Is this the back of those same cards?
This is the back of those 4 cards. So we're showing you 2 of them right here. 2 will be a mystery for you to discover later. But basically, every good thing comes at a cost, right? So those cards all had bonded. So if they were defeated or discarded from play with one of those leadership events or something, they would flip over and reveal a minion. So the suit has now broken free from you and it's attacking you. So all of the suits manifest as a Venom-looking generic minion, but they all have different abilities that sort of try to like mirror the ability they had on their other side, or harm the ability that was on the other side to like foil themselves. In some cases, it was just a cool ability.
So we're looking at them in the same order here, right? So the left one we saw a minute ago, which was the
stat increase
super stat one. Yep, increases your stats. So now on this side, it has -1 attack, -1 thwart, -1 defense. Not when it activates, just forever, right?
Yep,
So you
well,
get
it's
rid of this.
engaged with you.
Whew. Okay. And there's a new keyword here. Why don't you tell me about that?
Yeah, so menace is a new keyword that kind of addresses the issue of putting too many upgrades on a minion or being able to ignore a minion. One of the things we found in testing is some people would flip the minion, they'd throw a pin down on it, and they'd ignore it the rest of the scenario, because other cards might interact with this minion, right? And we didn't like that. So we have this new keyword called menace that's on a lot of minions, and we didn't want to just take away player card upgrades or attachments that go on minions, because some new characters like Iceman, that's their hook, right? You don't want to just make it so this set doesn't work with him at all.
Yeah.
So instead, menace gives player cards attached to this minion or this character temporary. That way they get discarded at the end of the round. So you can frostbite the symbiote, you can pin down it to ignore it for one turn, but you're not going to be able to just set it aside and ignore it for the scenario.
So how does Cyclops' ability to cancel temporary interact with this keyword?
No one tested it like that. So I would say play how you want in true FFG fashion. But I would also say that if the temporary keyword is canceled, we've gained it and canceled it, so it has gone away. So you could have Cyclops removing temporary from these. That's how I would play
That's pretty
it.
cool.
Play how it's fun, right?
That's what jumped out to me. And then this one says, forced response after Unleashed Symbiote engages you during the player phase, this minion attacks you. So if the bonded comes into play, right, during the player phase and you flip it, then it will attack you, but not if you, for example, chump block with your Venom symbiote.
Sort of, right? This was to prevent double attacks if you chump block, because originally they just had Quick Strike. But if you chump block this and it has Quick Strike, when it gets defeated, it flips over and attacks you, and then it immediately attacks you again as a minion. So we wanted it so when it would flip over, it would likely attack you if you were chumping with it, or if you flipped it over during the hero phase. But if you block with it from like an assault, it's going to flip over. It's not the player phase, so it won't attack you, and you'll have a chance to defeat it. But we didn't want that like double attack to happen if you did decide to block with an ally, because in some scenarios you might need to, right, to give up your superpower to create, unfortunately, a minion.
I love the art on this. The two that we can see are the same. Now, we don't know if they're all the same, but the two that I see here, the Unleashed Symbiote, it's like Venom. Looks like he's crouching on a building or something, and the moon is in the background with the moonlight. This is awesome. Like, I want this on the playmat. I can reveal that
they are all the same art. We ran out of art props eventually, so we ended up with 4 similar looking minions, at least in this case.
This is insane. I wish this was the playmat, because this is dope.
It is pretty dope.
Yeah, kudos to the artist here. This is awesome. I noticed
this was the Luthvi again. So
yeah, I noticed that this is elite, so there are some things that won't interact. The way you'd hope. I guess like
symbiote minions. So Venom's Nemesis set could have a side scheme that becomes annoying with this.
That's a good point. They are symbiotes. Okay, so this one has 2 scheme, 2 attack, and 6 health. That's the stat one. The other one has X scheme and X attack with 5 hit points, and says X is equal to the number of upgrades you control. Uh-oh.
So originally this was counteracting the extra hand upgrade, but we switched to that at one point because the one that was counteracting Good Boy was becoming too oppressive, and people never wanted Good Boy to flip because it was too brutal. So this one now can just become a 3/3, which can be annoying. He has less hit points because of that, but also if you have less upgrades, maybe you can play around it.
It could be a 1/1, or I guess technically a 0/0, right? It could
be a 0/0, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like the art on these a lot. I don't mind that they're all the same. These are super cool. I really love this idea of these allies that flip to minions, and will they flip back when they're defeated, or where do they go when they're defeated?
They have bonded again, so they will flip back to become allies when you defeat them. So in theory, you'll be like losing control and gaining control of your symbiote throughout the game. At one point, the symbiote suits were like upgrades with uses counters, but to encourage you to actually use them, they became allies with consequential damage. So there's probably been more iterations of this than anything else we've designed this year, and this was the final form, at least.
Yeah, these are really cool. I like this a lot. They flip back and forth the thematic nature of like the black suit of like struggling for control, and you have it and it's really good, and then you don't have it and it sucks. I think that's really fun.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, we have more cards to show, I
Yeah,
think.
let's keep
right?
going.
So
Yeah.
just like a normal, I'm a big fan of the standard set in its design. Like, I think it really, it makes all scenarios flow and gets all the gears moving the way they're supposed to for a Marvel Champions game. So I'm a big fan of sort of mimicking 2 copies of Advance, 2 copies of Assault, and the normal standard cards, but giving them new flair. So in this case, we have a new card, Tangled, which is like our Advance sub-in. So there's 2 copies of this card, and it says, when revealed, deal 1 damage to each symbiote ally you control. So that is going to damage that ally when it comes out, and you'll confuse each ally damage this way. So the use of those allies will become less useful because their confuse might be canceled, or their scheme. And then the villain schemes, just like a normal Advance. So it's an Advance, but it also attacks your little symbiote suit ally to try to force them to flip to the minion side.
And it has a boost icon, or not a boost icon. It has the boost symbol, the star.
Yes.
The
It has
ability.
a boost ability that deals 1 damage to each symbiote ally you control. So whether this comes up as a boost card or as an encounter card, at some point your symbiote ally might take damage from it.
And there's flavor text here. Can you explain to me the flavor text? Because I don't know what that means.
Oh, have you seen the movie Tangled?
I have.
It's a Disney movie about Rapunzel, and it was a joke about the movie Tangled. So
He's the guy, right?
he's like the guy,
The
from
main
movie.
character.
My daughter would say that he is swoon-worthy or something like that. I can't remember what she calls him. Dreamy. So when I
Well, I
told
would
her we had a
say-
card named Tangled, she wanted there to be a Rapunzel joke in it. So it's kind of like Rapunzel's hair too, right? But it's
Yeah, the art.
symbiote appendages. I don't know, goo.
Like little goo strings like they have, kind of
So you
tentacles.
become tangled up in Carnage's or your symbiote suit's tanglings.
Yeah, I like that. I think I really like boost abilities. I wish there was more of them, to be honest. Like the boost icon thing is a core part of the game, but I think it's really fun and engaging when there's something else that happens, either
Yeah.
on top of damage or instead of. It like feels more dynamic to me. So this is really cool.
I think it's interesting because it's a different way to make sure the encounter card goes off. I hate when the boost ability is just like resolve the whole card, because at that point, like, it feels a little bad. And I feel like they have to strike the right balance. If there's too many boost abilities, then there's that preparation that cancels them. Like when you play Ronin or Nebula, that preparation feels like it's obligatory because you want to be able to cancel the right boost abilities. But when there's just enough of them that they're dangerous, but not enough that they force you to always deck build around them, then there's like the perfect number.
Yeah. Or the little used Justice Ally Wraith, another
Yes.
quality boost ability. Maybe I'll bring a deck with him just for this. Okay, we are on. Wait a minute. I can't see these, KennedyHawk. We are looking at 3 blacked out cards. What's that
I
about?
can't tell you everything that's going to appear, right? We're only going to show you some of the standard set. But just like the normal standard set has an advance, an assault, a
The one that makes you discard,
gang up,
caught off guard.
yeah, the one that makes you discard a thing that I hate, caught off guard, and a Shadows of the Past. There might be some more cards that mirror those. But we do have at least 2 more cards to show from this standard set. So there's
All right,
a couple
so-
mystery cards, and then we'll get to the next one.
People who can't see this, who are listening, there are 3 cards here that you will find out later. So that's a total of 5 cards of the 12 that are so far have been blacked out. So something to look forward to.
Yep.
All right. Shadow of the Past. What are we looking at here, KennedyHawk?
Yeah, so this is the new version of Shadow of the Past. I love Nemesis sets. That was the theme year 2 for Con of Heroes. So this is a new way of having a Nemesis set. And I remember the Symbiote Suit card that came in Sinister Motives and how people love to play it on their hero to give them +1 stats and all sorts of things. So this is that same card, but for your Nemesis minion. So it's a costume-traded attachment that says, when revealed, find your Nemesis minion and reveal them. Shuffle the rest of the set-aside Nemesis set into the encounter deck and attach this to your Nemesis minion. The attached minion gets +1 to each of its basic powers, +5 hit points, and a hazard icon. Just like the normal Symbiote suit, they are now a Symbiote Nemesis thing. Monster.
I like
creature.
that a lot. The art is... Well, I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Oh gosh, Marvel trivia. It's one of Carnage's offspring, which is some stuff that comes up in some of the other modular sets we have, and it
Okay.
was just an extra piece of symbiote art we had. So I believe someone's going to yell at me about this later. I believe that is Raze. It's not Toxin. It could be Scorn. Those are the three Carnage offspring. So it's
It's
one of
like
those three.
greenish, like emerald green and dark green with like glowing green eyes and kind of like hair that sticks up on top of its head, no mouth, and like spider
You could just
legs.
say it's Volter in a symbiote suit. He's kind of green, and he
Yeah,
has
he is kind of green.
like
Or scorpion,
wings.
that color.
Yeah, yeah.
But like real spider legs or those wings on its back? Do you know?
I think that those are like extra spider arms, like when Spider-Man has the Iron Spider suit and he's got like the extra arms that touch
But
things.
these look
I
like
think
they have
this-
like fur on them, and like
yeah,
like real
little
spiders.
feelers.
Ugh.
Gross.
A little bit
Spiders.
gross. So if you can't see this, I will put links down below so you can go check it out. But if you're watching a video, obviously you can see this. So my question: what did you at any point, or why did you not consider having the hit points scale with the player count, or did you not?
To me, I was trying to foil as closely as I could exactly what symbiote suit was for a hero character. I didn't have the +1 card, but it does have the hazard symbol, and +10 hit points was way too many, so we didn't do that. The other reason for that is that when you have 4 players, right, you're 4 times more likely to draw this. So it's already brutal. We don't really need to make it 5 hit points per player or something like that.
Yeah.
It's going to come up more often automatically with 4 players. So hopefully the scaling works out.
I like that. And it's a costume. Are there any other costume traded cards? I can't think of any.
That's a great trivia question that I don't know the answer to. There should be.
Listeners, viewers, let us know. Are there any? I could probably look it up, but I didn't do it beforehand. This is cool. I like that this is not an event card. Like I guess it kind of is, but I like that it's something different. I like that it fishes out your Nemesis because I think that has traditionally been an underused part of the game, and early on it was super felt ignored. To be honest, maybe that's harsh on the designers, but it just felt like I never played with them. You never saw, wave 1 through 3. I feel like I never saw Baron Zemo when I played Cat, like once every 6 games or something. So it's cool to have them fished out. I think Standard 3 obviously has addressed that too. So it's cool to see more of that.
Yeah, and this will find your Nemesis. So if you hit it on the second deck pass and your Nemesis is already shuffled into the deck, you'll have to go into the deck and find him. So it won't just like surge your second draw in solo or something like that.
The only way you wouldn't find them here is if it is an encounter card, right?
And they were like a face down encounter. Yeah, if you had
Yeah.
like 2 encounter cards, that's the one.
If you're playing
trick.
Star Lord, that's the only way to make sure you
happen.
don't trigger this. It
Your
could,
life's
but that's
bad enough then.
yeah, it's not likely. Okay, and now we have one more card, the 12 out of 12 card called Suit Malfunction. This is a bonus card. This art is amazing. So go
Correct.
ahead. KennedyHawk.
Yeah. So there's usually 7 cards in the standard set, but we want to make sure enough things happen that target your symbiote ally. So here's a reason you might not want to Voltron your symbiote ally. If Suit Malfunction comes out, it's a 1 scheme, 1 attack, 4 hit point minion, pretty wimpy, with menace. So we can't just pin down him and ignore him for the whole game. And when defeated, it's going to defeat your bonded symbiote ally. So it will defeat your suit if it's not already in minion form, forcing you to encounter another minion once you defeat this. So you have this choice: do I just take the ping damage every turn, or do I let my ally flip so that I can defeat this, and then I can defeat my minion and bring my ally back? Or how do I deal with Suit Malfunction going on?
That's a cool idea. I like that. This does do what you said a minute ago, which is just
I know,
the boost
I'm
icon,
horrible.
resolve the card. But the art is amazing. This is my favorite art of the whole set so far. This is great.
Oh,
it's
awesome.
like Iron Man.
I think the prompt was Iron Man struggling with to break free of a symbiote suit. So
It captures that. I love that it's got like some motion. You can see his hand. It feels like he's struggling. He's obviously yelling, and you can see his whatever that arc reactor in his chest is. The base
Yep.
covered, and his face is kind of coming out of the mouth. This is awesome. I loved the Venom art earlier in front of the moon, but this is probably my favorite one. Awesome.
And this
awesome
is
art.
another new artist, Robo, online is their username if you search for them or something like that.
Shout out to all these artists if you happen to be watching this. Awesome stuff. I love this. Yeah. Okay, so that is most of the set. 12 cards. You're really getting your money's worth here as an attendee, right? Because it's supposed to be 7, but 4 are set up, so this is the 8th card. You're getting your money's worth, I would say. This is awesome. I like the color scheme. This is something we don't talk about a lot, but I love the blue and green of the cards, like the frame and the background and stuff. The color scheme is quite enjoyable. Well done on that as well.
I'm color stupid, so you could thank Design Hacker on Discord for that. He's very aware of what colors like go well together. Because originally, we have the Carnage scenario, we have the Symbiote Standard Set, and we said, cool, red backgrounds. But then when I started making the playmat, I was like, we've had 3 red playmats in a row, or 2 red playmats in a row, more red card backs, and it just looks like a giant puke of red on the scenario. But if you look at like the Carnage logo that exists for the con this year, he's breaking out of like a little blue canister. So we actually use the same blue for the blue background on all the cards. And then the green is the background of the Con of Heroes like 2025 Starburst logo. Because every year we've rotated through the 4 aspects. So this is the year that the protection got picked. So the green and blue fit in with like the con themes or the con. They're pleasing with the con playmat of that year.
They look good. And so the first player token is going to be the green color this year?
I would have to look that up. I think so.
If you don't know off the top of your head, that's okay.
I'll double check on that later.
Okay. This is awesome. So the idea of the standard set, right, the same with the new standard and the other ones that have come before, I don't remember all the names, is that you don't have to be playing the con-specific stuff. If you go home and you play a different scenario, you could just substitute this for the standard set in any game, right?
Yep. And it should function in the same way. It's going to create schemes. It's going to create attacks. It's going to destroy upgrades in some way, which we haven't seen yet. So it should perform all the functions of a normal standard set, but give it a different little flavored twist. Originally, this also gave like a symbiote suit to the villain, but it became, again, too much. So we're trying to add a little bit of complexity without like an overwhelming amount of complexity, which is, it's tricky to do. So kudos to FFG for being able to do that.
Yeah, I think this is cool. I think one of them had a side scheme. Was it the second year?
I think the first and second year had a side scheme. The first year had a side scheme instead of advance. That way it was like a delayed advance. It was a side scheme that had like 5 threat on it, and it said at the start of the next villain's phase, move all this threat to the main scheme. Because that lets like solo players not just threat out to an advance, instead they have a turn to clean up the mess. Someone on Discord came up with that idea, and I asked if we could steal it, and they said yes. So props
Credit
to them.
to the anonymous Discord user. You know who you are.
Yes.
I think, now that we're sitting here, I think I'm going to bring all the standard sets this year from the previous years. That could be fun. And mix them into my games throughout the con. The one last year was awesome. It was like a legacy game. That was super creative. I loved that. That is, so you would like add a sticker as you made a choice throughout the game. Super fun.
Oh, yeah, the Mr. Sinister set. Yeah. The standard set was just choices, and then there was
right.
There was a set where, you got stickers to put on your cards. We're trying to do different things, right? Like, FFG makes awesome stuff, and they're limited by some amount of rules. We are a little bit more unlimited by rules. So we're trying to, we did, a legacy set thing. We did, encountering your Nemesis set more. This year we're doing, a contracts agenda, deck building bonus sort of thing. I can bring this set, but I'm also going to have to pay the penalty of my advances are slightly worse than advance now, and it's been pretty fun.
So now that you've seen the whole set, before we go, let's talk logistics a little bit and what people should bring and when they will get this stuff. So the con officially starts on Friday, and you'll get your full packet of stuff that Friday morning, just for people who haven't been there before, right?
Yep, yeah. When you walk in, you'll get your full packet of swag right away, which will include a shrink wrap sealed 72 card pack. So that'll include the Carnage scenario, this set, and any other sets that might be coming out. I think there was one other set we included that gives characters aerial, so maybe bring a deck with a character that normally couldn't have aerial to try it out. But yeah, you'll get that stuff right away.
Yeah, the jetpack that you teased, which is the one that gives people aerial, that is a one I've seen a lot of discussion on already online on Discord. The people who are going are already thinking about, how can I use aerial in different ways? I heard somebody talking about Rogue the other day, which is a cool idea to get more boosts from her signature cards. That's cool.
Yep.
But there's lots of ways to use aerial for characters that don't normally get it. You know, if you've always wanted to dive bomb with Captain America, this is probably your chance.
It's your chance. The one chance you get.
Yeah. So what else should people bring this year? Is there a packing list that we can link? Do you just want to talk through it?
Let me pull it up really here. But one thing that's not on the packing list that you'll probably want to bring is a set of sleeves, right? So there are going to be a bunch of cards that you get access to. Some of them are double-sided, some of them are encounter cards. So you'll want 23 double-sided clear sleeves, like those minions that we just looked at.
Yep.
And allies are double-sided. You'll want 7 player card sleeves. So if you use like blue sleeves for your player cards, you'll want to bring 7 of those. 38 encounter deck back sleeves, so cards that you would shuffle in with the normal orange backed cards. And then there's 4 challenge cards where I use purple villain sleeves for those challenge cards. So there's 72 sleeves you're going to need in total. You're probably not going to want to like get greasy food right onto your brand new cards. So probably bring sleeves to be able to mix them into your content right away.
And then the packing list, what should people bring, KennedyHawk? What scenarios? What mod sets?
Oh, I wish I remembered where I put it. Here we go. So boom, here's your packing list. Again, hero decks, villain scenarios, Thunderbolts, some of your favorite scenarios, Sandman, Risky Business, Mysterio, and Sinister Six. And then modular sets that you would want would be 1 Thunderbolts mod, a Symbiotic Strength, Weapon Master, Wrecking Crew, Guerrilla Tactics, and Power Drain. Along with whatever your favorite scenario is. So I always encourage people to bring your favorite scenarios. I also encourage you to make slightly larger than you need decks. Like make a 43 card deck. That way if Nick Fury's in your deck and someone sits down and is playing Nick Fury, you can just remove that card and not have to worry about it. So I tend to, especially if I include allies that could also be heroes, include that many extra cards in my deck so I can remove them really quickly right before the game and not worry about being like, oh, I drew a handful of resources because I got Energy, Genius, Strength, Maria Hill, Nick Fury, and Hawkeye or something like that.
How many hero decks do you usually bring when you go to the con?
I bring 8 hero decks. Well, the first year I brought 4. I brought 1 for each aspect. And every time I sat at a table, I would ask people, what do you want me to play? And they would always say, play your Hawkeye deck. So year 2, I got brave, and I only brought 4 Hawkeye decks. That was all I brought, which got a little old. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
So last year, I brought the 4 Hawkeye decks again, 1 for each aspect, and then I brought a bunch of backup decks, and I'm pretty sure I still never got to play them. So I'll do the same thing again. I'll bring my 4 Hawkeye decks. I'll bring my backup decks, and if people tell me to play Hawkeye, I will, and if they don't, then I'll try out one of the other ones.
Listeners, viewers, if you're going to be at the con, please play a game with KennedyHawk. I feel like you end up walking around and helping make sure everything goes smoothly, but maybe you can lean on some other people this year and actually get to sit down and play more games. I wish that for you.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay. There's going to be games at the hotel. There's going to be games all day at the con. So bring as many heroes as you want. I know Americano last year brought 0. He had talked about it every year that he wasn't going to bring anything and just borrow decks from people. And last year he finally did it. So I think he had a good time, though, still. We had him on the podcast after it last year, and he said he had a great time just borrowing decks. So
I think that tradition actually goes back to Hone. At the first Con of Heroes, we stayed at like an Airbnb off-site so we could get there a couple days in advance. And the first day of the con, he showed up. We loaded everything in my rental car, and we got there. And like we had a little bit of time after setup, so I was like, oh, let's play a game, Hone. And he like went into his little quiver of things, and it was only encounter cards. And he's like, I didn't bring any hero decks with me, but he had just left them at the Airbnb, so he could go back and get them later. But for the first day, he was stuck just like bumming decks from people. But he said it was fun, so now a lot of people try it out.
that's cool. I keep saying, I mean, I have shrunk. Every year I brought a little bit less. This year I find myself kind of expanding. There's so many heroes and so many interactions I want to play that
Yeah, it's hard.
it's hard to cut it down.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I mentioned this in our panel discussion video that I posted, but I'll mention again here. I am going to be printing a bunch of the custom alt art heroes that I've been doing with Bando Sirens. We've been going through from the core set all the way through. We're going to give at the door a bunch of people. Everyone's going to get some cards. You're going to get a booster pack full of a few cards, and then you can trade. If you don't get the ones you like, you can trade with other people. So hopefully that adds another dimension of, here's the cards I got at the gate, but I really was looking for a different one. You can trade with people and play with new friends and make friends at the con. And then you're going to get all these awesome custom content cards for the Con of Heroes from KennedyHawk and the MCM and Con of Heroes team. So I'm super excited for all this. Thanks for coming on, KennedyHawk, and bringing some cards to spoil. I'm super excited to get these into people's hands and into my hands and to finally play them at the con with you.
Yeah, can't wait. It'll be a blast.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Tell people where they can find you if they want to see more KennedyHawk.
Yeah, you can go to the Con of Heroes website, conofheroes.com, or you can go to the MCM YouTube channel. So just Google Marvel Champions Monthly, and you'll find us out.
Boom. Love it. All right, thanks for joining us, and we will see everybody next time. Bye, everyone.
See ya.